At 105 years old, Zenobia Irwin is Mount Prospect's oldest resident. Her family moved here in the middle of the 20th century, but her path to Mount Prospect was a journey in itself.
I was born in Indiana, but my family migrated to Oklahoma, which was a new state, when I was about 4 years old, I guess it was. And then the Dust Bowl came, and my mother had asthma, and that dust just killed her. So we moved from there to Colorado, and that's where I lived before I married and moved back here. A mutual friend introduced us. He was from Missouri. He went to the University of Missouri, and I went to the University of Colorado, and he came to visit his friend in Colorado and introduced me to him, and from then on it was history. He had a cousin who lived in Mount Prospect. She persuaded him to go around and see it. He really wanted to move down to Downers Grove, I guess it was, but the transportation wasn't as good there, and I didn't like the hills down there. He did. He liked the hills. So we compromised and moved here.
With a population of barely 4,000, the village that the Irwins moved to was a very different community than today's Mount Prospect.
Well, there wasn't much here. They grew corn north of the school. That was a cornfield, and Hatland Heights out there was all cornfield. No houses at all in Hatland Heights. And now it's all houses, no cornfields at all.
Zenobia and her husband Everett moved with their daughter Linda into their newly constructed home in the Prospect Park neighborhood east of the Mount Prospect Golf Club. Theirs was one of the few homes built on the block at the time.
Yeah, it was built in 1950 and was ready for us in 51. Every scratch and blemish is ours. That house across the street, I remember that big white house over there. They had to hook up get their electricity, the builders, from my electric lines. There were no lines over there then, and no other houses, so I was telling Jack Scambler that, and he said, "Oh, well, do we owe you for the electricity?"
Her husband took the train to his job in downtown Chicago, while Zenobia quickly found work just a few blocks away as a teacher at the newly constructed Lincoln Elementary School.
I had been a teacher, so I applied up there, and so I was busy. I liked it.
The Irwins moved to Mount Prospect at a moment of explosive growth that the village experienced in the years immediately following the Second World War.
The school was 1 year old. By the next year, the town had just burst at the seam. I taught in the basement because they had grown so much after the first year, and they built the first edition, and then later they built another edition, and then they built a gym. I mean, they just were expanding all the time. And then when they decided to do away with Central School, which was their only school for years, they made this a junior school, junior high, and I moved up and taught junior high then. They built 7 schools in just a short number of years, but it really bloomed after we came out here.
Zenobia taught students for a total of 34 years, 24 right here at Lincoln. Countless village residents have learned to read and write thanks to Zanobia Irwin.
Most of them were very interested and wanted to learn and respected their teachers and each other. I had an occasional problem child, but you expected that. I was thinking once, I wondered just how many children I taught up here. I have no idea.
Throughout her decades as a resident, Zenobia has witnessed Mount Prospect transform from a small town to the suburb it is today.
We didn't have any of the high-rises up there then, and the station was a simple little railroad station. I've seen lots of changes.
And if you need to shop, you just stroll down to the town center.
Miski's, so it was the grocery store of the day, and it was privately owned, but you had to cross the tracks to get to it. So if we just wanted one or two things, we'd go to this one on this side of the tracks, you know. Grandhurst was put in after we were here. Oh, we thought it was wonderful. It was a big shopping center for all under one roof, and we went there a lot.
Possibly the greatest pleasure the Irwins enjoyed about Mount Prospect was in the community they found in their local church, the South Church.
You can make friends easily here, especially in the church. Time was when the church, South Church, at first was just the one big room upstairs and down, but we used to have 2 and 3 services, especially for Easter time. And they'd be sticking up in the attic even, you know. Pastor Steve was the pastor when the church was organized, and he was just a good man. His wife was wonderful too. Mount Prospect was a small town when he first started, and just he grew up with the town too, you know.
For Zenobia, it was never one thing about Mount Prospect that kept her family here. It was everything.
It's a good place to live, and the people were good, and the businesses were all accommodating, you know. So it was a good place to make a home. And we were happy here, so we stayed.